All right, guys. I felt the need to push another video in my underwear, half asleep, because that's how I roll. So, over the last several months, I've had a little theme among certain people who I would consider centrists and even some conservatives. So I think some of this is because of my ideology on free speech and discussing things regardless. Um, I need to make something clear on my intent behind that. So I believe that when you shut out certain ideas, you're really just crippling yourself and you're getting stuck in like a freaking echo chamber. You're not uh, surrounding yourself with challenging ideas or ideas that challenge your own narrative. And that's not a good thing. So, always, it's been a while now, but when I do run live streams, I really encourage conservatives to come on, and I do my absolute best to be respectful. It doesn't mean I agree with you, but I try to be respectful. With that being said, I can respect and take on the views and kind of dissect them. We can both like kind of challenge each other civilly, and that's a great thing. That does not mean we can be friends. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So, I'm not one of these people who throw out the term friend willy nilly. It means it has absolutely no import. It's nothing. I don't do that. It's just dumb to me. So, like, people call people who they know on Facebook, who they never talk to, who essentially means nothing to their daily lives, friends. I don't do that. That is not a friend. That completely destroys the meaning of the word. So there's a couple of things here. It gets more complicated than I like, but it's necessary, at least in my opinion. So we go back into what is it called? Guilty by association. And I've been over this before, my stance on it. You're not automatically like guilty by association just because you converse with someone. What matters is the level of attachment. If you are really good friends with someone who I would consider a piece of shit, that matters. And that is where they have the saying, you are the five people closest to you. Whether you like it or not, the people that you are attached to, that you're actually friends with, not someone that you say hello to, not someone that you just uh, abide their time and just kind of converse because they might have interesting ideas or whatever. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are in your circle, so to speak. That means something. And you'll never, ever convince me otherwise. That's just silly. It's just naive to believe that. So, this pretty much goes back to values. And that's the thing. And this is what I go back to when I go into conservatives and liberals or leftists, whatever, right versus left. Uh, that's not perfect. There's all sorts of different freaking ways to analyze and break apart politics. However, These differences are not arbitrary. They represent the way your brain is wired. They tell you and tell the world who you are. That's important. So it's to some extent subjective, and I'll admit that. So, from my point of view, my subjective point of view, there are certain things that matter over other things. When it comes to economics, I'm not quite as hardcore. You can be a fiscal conservative within reason. Like if you like are cool with people dying in the streets and shit, just so you can like be concerned about like the national debt or something like that, then I don't take you very seriously. It really depends where you stand on that. But the point is, I can respect a fiscal conservative, and I can even like be cool with you. However, there are certain things that I cannot look past. And that's just basic like value assessment. Like if I take my value seriously, which I do, I can't look past issues that I find extremely important. That's never going to change. Whether it's because of your own beliefs, because of your religious indoctrination, or whatever, if you think that people, because of the way they are born, are inferior, there's something wrong with them, you dislike them, you even like I've had certain people who want to like they try to hide their hatred by saying I don't hate them, I just disagree with it. That's the same fucking thing, and you'll never convince me otherwise. That the end point, the important point here is that you think that there's anything wrong with being born a certain way. This is the definition of evil, in my opinion, because you're judging someone not for like something that they have direct control over, but because of the way their brain is wired, because of their literal biology. And that makes you a piece of shit to me. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. And no, we cannot be friends. So I'm being sort of general right now, and I do that for a reason, but I'll be more specific so you understand what I'm talking about. If you think that being gay is in any way, shape, or form wrong, you're a garbage human being. Because we know factually that not all, but a vast majority of being homosexual is biological in nature. It's not nurture. People don't get turned into gay people. That's retarded fucking propaganda shit. No evidence to back that. There's plenty of evidence to back the biological view. It's essentially like pretty much a fact at this point. And I also have this exact same view with trans people. So you can make the claim that you think that something is like abnormal, so to speak, with them, and that's fine. That's cool. But if you actively attack them, or you think something should be done about them, or you buy into this stupid like Fox News propaganda shit that they're trying to turn your children into trans people or whatever, any of that, you, to me, are an inferior human being. Now, some people will make the claim that I am becoming what I hate by doing that. And I'll explain why that's illogical. So, me actively judging and disliking people who hate for an arbitrary reason that has no legitimate backing at all is not the same as the person, what I just said. So it's sort of like when people say, if you bully a bully, you're the same as them. And that's not true, because intent is everything. So if I hate someone because they hate people for arbitrary reasons, I have a legitimate reason to hate them, right? Not all hate is the same. That's stupid. Like, use your brain for a second. So, one hand, you've got someone who just is an insecure human being that like feels entitled, like that they can push their own arbitrary shit onto the rest of the world, right? And that is, oh, someone is born a certain way, but I'm going to lie and act like it's their choice to make me feel better, like I'm less of a piece of shit. And I'm going to attack and blah, 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 all that good shit. There's absolutely no logical defense for that at all. On the other end, you've got someone like myself who doesn't just look the other way when there's fucking direct evil around you, right? I'm not going to go, yeah, these people like have like been fucking indoctrinated by right-wing shit, or they have a religious belief that makes them think that their God thinks that gay people are wrong or whatever. Like, any of that, I don't give a fuck what your reason is. If it's not logical and if it's not backed on any kind of scientific data, then you're a piece of shit. Because what that means is you're not basing that dislike, hatred, whatever, on anything concrete, which tells me it's not about evidence, which means it's about you. You choose to be that. And you use mental gymnastics to have like a reason to think that's okay. And that makes you a garbage human being. And if you were on fire, I wouldn't piss on you to put you out, because I am a utilitarian. I believe in the greater good, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this, and that's fine. We can actually debate it if you would like. But I do not think that people dying is inherently negative. So a lot of people, and this is a weird, illogical thing among most human beings, you have this automatic belief. Now, it doesn't depend on the person. It's automatic that life is intrinsically valuable, meaning, in this sense, that all people's lives are equally valuable. That's not true. That's like factually incorrect. That's stupid. That's like some sort of equality fallacy. So what does put worth or value on an individual's life is a complex web of interactions in the world. Their existence, and whether or not they are a net positive or a net negative to the rest of the world. If someone like Donald Trump, for example, were to suddenly fall dead tomorrow or whatever, it would be a net positive for the rest of the world. And when I say net, I'm not talking about specific groups like you're a white nationalist piece of shit and you think that he furthers your agenda. I'm talking about all people, right? It would be very difficult for anyone, well, I'm going to go ahead and say impossible, for anyone to make a logical argument to the contrary. Donald Trump is a selfish, narcissistic piece of garbage who misleads people for his own ends and pretty much fucks over everyone else except for oligarchs. If he were to no longer be in this world, it would be a net benefit. So the problem is a lot of people have this deeply rooted belief that wanting someone else, or not even wanting, because I'm not even saying that I want him to die. I'm making the case that if he were to die, the world would be a better place. And that's two different things. It's very important that you understand the difference between those. So people have this thought that that life is so sacred, especially human life, like we're extra special, that if anyone were to die, whether they were good, bad, whatever, that it's automatically bad, and you even mentioning anything good coming of it makes you evil. That is a silly, silly way of looking at the world, and it's highly emotional, and it basically makes it where you aren't capable of viewing reality as it is. Yeah. So I kind of went into a tangent. I have a tendency to do that, but I'll kind of make a little summary here. If you're a conservative, we can be cool, but it really depends on what sort of conservative you are. When it comes to most social things, or what people would call culture war or woke things, I'm unbending. If you think, for example, that there's something wrong with being gay, that there's something wrong with being trans, that, well, I'll finish this one first. We cannot be friends. You are garbage to me, and that won't change. I'm sorry. Like, you have the option to change your misguided views, but that's how it is. I'm just being honest. But when it comes to some economic things, I'm also unbending. Like I said, you can be a fiscal conservative if it's within reason, in my view. But if you, let me try to work out what I'm trying to say here in the best way. If you have this belief, and it's a strong belief, meaning I can't like reason with you. If I don't believe that I can like convince you otherwise, and you think that like the United States, for example, is a meritocracy, and that wealthy people are wealthy because they are smarter, work harder, whatever, like that it's merit essentially, and that things are as they should be, and that people who are like in worse economic conditions are in that situation because they're lazy, they're stupid, whatever. If you have that sort of belief, we cannot be friends, because you live in like an upside down world. You aren't capable of, like, you've been indoctrinated to such a point that you can't view reality as it is. You've fallen for the rich propaganda bullshit that they push on people, and it works all the damn time. Yeah, and like, there, to me, there's really not much hope for you. And it, again, this goes back to, if I think that you can't be reasoned with, because the amount of evidence for this claim is overwhelming. It's like, it's essentially like flat earth. It's like being a flat earther with all the evidence that there is to the contrary. So, like, again, you can debate all you want, like whatever you want to do, but essentially my my point is, if you have those sort of beliefs, then don't waste your time. Because I sometimes get people that'll see me on like a live stream and I'll converse with conservatives and I'm civil and everything, and they get the wrong idea from that. So, especially on live streams, but also outside of that, I have a tendency to view conversations and discussion, especially on politics and other things, as an opportunity for betterment for all, right? There's a good chance that you will say something that I haven't thought of or that I wasn't aware of, because you come at things from a completely different point of view. And it's a good thing to converse with people like that. However, if I believe your core values are completely at odds with mine, just because I'm being polite to you, just because we're civil, does not mean we're friends. And I need that to be understood, because regardless of whether or not I'm being cool and it appears that I'm like cordial and friendly, that's not reflective of what I'm thinking. Oftentimes my discussion, and like, if especially if I consider it like a debate or a discussion that's where we have opposing ideas, that's just good form. That's making sure that I'm not or making sure that other people know also that I'm not engaging in fallacious thinking, or that emotions aren't overwhelming me to the point where I can't gauge things objectively, or as close to objectively as is possible. So make sure that you're not confused by that. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to go over. Yeah, there'll always be things I think of later, but I can just cover that at another time. Thank you for your time.